we seen any research around Formula One and dementia or racing, let's say more broadly speaking, and cognitive impairments or any of these things later in life?
I don't think there's enough of them to really look at that kind of long term stuff. But I will say that um, if we just if we look at driving more broadly, there's some very cool studies, multiple studies done with taxi drivers in the UK, and with taxi drivers and ambulance drivers in the US. And what you see is that um, so the taxi drivers they look at in the UK are London cab drivers. So if anybody like you've seen those like big bulbous cars with the yellow light on top, orange light on top, that's like typical London taxi. If you want to learn how to drive a London cab, or you want to get a license to drive a London cab, you have to pass something called the knowledge. The knowledge is memorizing a map of 25,000 streets in a 6 mile radius around Charing Cross Station in central London. It takes about 3 years to learn that. What they see is that compared to a control group and compared to people who fail the test, those who pass the test, who've memorized the map, see significant changes to the structure of the posterior hippocampus, which is really important for like is particularly spatial memory, like remembering where you are in the world, and navigation. And so by using their memory so intensely in that way, you see the structure of the brain change. And then there were several studies looking at these guys in London, and then there was a recent study that came out looking at the risk of dementia by occupation in the US. And after you adjust for like socioeconomic status and salary and all these other kinds of things, ambulance drivers and taxi drivers have the two lowest risks of dementia in the US. And it's thought to be because of spatial navigation, right? They spend all their day navigating. Now it's probably not going to be the case anymore because everybody just uses GPS and they don't have to actually do any navigation. But there was one interesting study that compared taxi drivers in London to bus drivers in London, and taxi drivers had to memorize the map and learn their way around, whereas a bus driver has a fixed route, right? So they're not actually navigating. And they saw like cognitive benefits in the taxi drivers versus the bus drivers. So there is something about complex navigation that seems to be particularly beneficial for the brain and dementia risks.